Joining us now, all-around political guru of the ages, former executive director of the Republican Party of Virginia when there was one, and also blogger extraordinaire on Bearing Drift. You can go to bearingdrift.com, and otherwise political genius consultant Shaun Kenney. Shaun, good to have you.
That's one heck of an introduction. Glad to be on the show.
Now, I got to get you and Jason back before the election to do that tandem again. You guys did that one day out of Richmond. Now, tell me you didn't have a blast.
Oh, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
And I didn't hear all of it. I was driving somewhere. I heard about an hour. And, I talked to your brother a few times, but he's a really funny guy.
Yeah, I guess in a Goodfellas sort of way, right?
In a good way. No, he's a funny guy. I mean, because when you meet him, he's kind of dry and laid back. But on the radio, it was like that guy was hilarious.
Well, he's done radio before, so he's really good, really engaging. We have a good rapport, and obviously, you've got great listeners. So it was a real blast to go ahead and do the show. We really, really enjoyed it.
All right, you'll have to come back. It's all good. Now, Shaun, wow, lots to talk about. Let's start with. Okay, let's start today with Dick Saslaw, who, got his caucus fund and the Saslaw for Senate reelection campaign, $700,000 embezzled in 15 months by somebody that he hired as his treasurer, who was a friend of his. I mean, how does this happen? He just has to be so upset over this.
There's a sleep of the switch, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, the buck stops somewhere. It has to stop with Dick Saslaw. That's got to be a punch to the gut for any slim chances they thought they had of taking back the Senate. I mean, they're already so far behind. You have Nancy Dye running out in John Edwards' seat. That's not looking good for the Democrats. You've got Hal Parrish running in Chuck Colgan's old seat. That's not looking good for the Democrats. You've got Frank Wagner, who thought he was going to get a stiff challenge from Gary McCollum. Gary McCollum can't figure out whether or not his 14 years in the Army was actually service or not. That's a seat that they thought they were going to be competitive in. The Democrats don't have a chance. Glenn Sturtevant seems like he's doing well. Dr. Donovan's doing well, and Walter Stosh's soon-to-be old district. I mean, the Democrats just have no daylight, and to have this news dumped on top of them just sets them even further behind in a race where they, or at least in a season where they really couldn't afford any mistakes.
Okay, let's look at some of these Senate races. Obviously, the Republicans just need to hold what they have. They stay in control. The Democrats need to pick one up. There's only a handful of really competitive races, although somebody told me yesterday, and I got to check this out because I didn't believe it. I'm like, no, this has got to be a mistake. But somebody told me yesterday that the Republican running in District 1, Mark Matney, was tied with John Miller in some internal poll. Now, I find that hard to believe. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that, nor have I heard the panic buttons switched on. So, sometimes you'll hear these rogue polls going out there saying that somebody's within the margin of error or close. Several successive polls or an actual poll that's released. Until I see the paperwork, I don't put any trust in rumors.
Nonsense. Okay, I agree with that. So let's go to what I think are the handful of remaining competitive races, because we're in agreement. Wagner's going to win in 7. In fact, I don't even think it's going to be close after what has gone down with McCollum. We're in agreement on that. Dick Black, who the Democrats thought they had this wonderful candidate, they had a chance to beat him, mail it in. He's going to win easy, right? So there's 2 there. Those are basically done. But let's go to 21, where early on I really thought, Nancy Dye, great candidate, independent Democrat running. Edwards doesn't have the energy he had. She had everything going for her, but all of the numbers I'm seeing, Shaun, that come out of 21, it just doesn't look like it's there for Dye. How does she? And then earlier in the week, I think last week, she came out opposed to the Atlantic Coast pipeline, which I thought was a head scratcher because that means jobs for the area. Now she's on the same side with Edwards. How does she win this race?
Well, here are a couple things to bear in mind, right? I mean, she's literally running against 2 Democrats. So the Democrats are effectively splitting their vote. John Edwards is a bit of a lazy campaigner. So that's added into it as well. And if you look at what Nancy Dye's doing, I mean, just a casual look in their social media feeds, you can see that she's got volunteers. You can see that the Senate caucus isn't taking that race for granted. You can see that the resources are being poured into that race. Nancy is absolutely great on the stump. She's great one-on-one. She's been absolutely relentless knocking on doors. She has exceeded her targets, much like Hal Parrish up in Chuck Colgan's district. She's done a tremendous job getting out the vote. I'm very optimistic about that race. I think we picked that race up at the end of the day. She's doing all the right things. We could always be doing better in fundraising. Who couldn't? But she's doing everything she needs to do to put together a credible challenge. I really hope the Democrats are asleep at the switch. Sounds like they might be, or at least they're putting on a brave face. But I think at the end of the day, watch what happens down in Roanoke, because I think Nancy Dye is going to win.
All right, so that's your prediction.
Yes, sir.
All right, I think Edwards hangs on. Let's go to a couple of the others that really are going to hang in the balance. Obviously, if Dye wins, it's over. The Republicans are going to maintain control of the Senate. That's going to be the end of it as far as I'm concerned. There's two other districts that are right now just razor thin. And let's start with Chuck Colgan's old district, Sean, 29. Hal Parrish, maybe the best candidate in the history of all Senate candidates ever for the Republicans in that district, right? Running against Jerry McPike, who's, he's okay. So, but, on paper, wow, you look at this district, and the Democrats have a huge edge. Obama got 65%. Ralph Northam got 60%. Tim Kaine got 58%. Warner got 57%. How do you win this race?
Real easy. You introduce yourself to the district. You have deep roots going back 40 years. You serve on local leadership positions. And you show that you're a genuine human being who cares for his community. All those things are things that Hal Parrish has done. I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, Jeremy McPike, he's okay.
Okay.
I mean, he really ought to put that on all of his literature, because that's exactly the kind of campaign he's running.
I'm okay.
An okay one.
Yeah, I'm okay. That should be his line. I'm okay. Vote for me. I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm just okay.
It's all good. Yeah, I'm okay. Okay, so what's your prediction there?
I think Hal Parrish wins. He's doing all the right things. He's well-funded. He is absolutely blown out of the water, his door-knocking totals. He's doing everything you need to do, running a model campaign up there. Absolutely solid so far.
Sean, this thing's got upset written all over it. I mean, you look – every time I want to predict Hal – I go back, I look at the numbers, and I'm like, well, there's no way. But then, you look at the money he's raised, the doors he knocked down, the volunteers he's had, and I just don't know. So I don't know. I'm gonna hold on that. Okay, let's get to 10. Basically, Chesterfield, Richmond area. This is for the retiring seat of John Watkins, who told me I'm the last Republican that's ever going to win this seat ever. The Republicans have a very, very energetic candidate there in Glenn Sturdivant, Richmond school board member, and running against a very good Democrat candidate, Dan Gecker. This is kind of battle of, you got two good candidates, a lot of money, good organizations, district pretty much split down the middle. What happens?
Well, I think Dan Gecker's got his own problems, right? I mean, he's run a very negative, nasty campaign so far, trying to bring Glenn Sturdivant down to his level. Good news is that it really isn't working. Glenn got an excellent piece out of PolitiFact about a recent attack ad that Gecker ran. I mean, he's just running kind of a gutter campaign, and Gecker can't win that way. He's got to get some ideas out there. Meanwhile, I mean, Glenn Sturdivant, and I'm sure you've met him before.
Great guy.
The guy he's a Boy Scout. He's a great American. And the more people that he gets an opportunity to put himself in front of, Sturdivant's going to continue to impress people, as he's done on the Richmond School Board. I mean, the guy's a leader. He's humble. He's genuine. And at the end of the day, I think, Gecker, for all of his negative gutter politics, people are going to recognize that he's just not in it for the same reasons as Glenn is.
The Democrats under Terry McAuliffe's PAC, Common Good Virginia, they're spending $250,000 a month. They got 80 people in the field right now getting paid full time. As these races tighten, they're going to keep pulling them out of like Dick Blacks and McCombs. They're going to put them in 10 and 29. The Republicans have a handful of people versus 80. How do you beat that back?
Well, this is a perennial problem, right? I mean, the Democrats have done a very good job about investing in their grassroots infrastructure. The Republicans are, 5, now 6, soon to be 7 years behind. It's an intractable problem, and until our consulting class figures it out and starts investing in ground game that is going to be there perennially and not just hired guns that we kind of bring in from out of state. This is where the Democrats get us every time. This is part of the demographic infrastructure that we frankly lack and we haven't focused on. Overcoming it is really going to be, this year, more than likely we're going to be able to overcome it. Why? Because we're running downhill. This is a good year for Republicans. We always do this. We ran downhill in 2010. We did it again in 2014. And we sort of paper over those problems. When push comes to shove and it's a true contest, that's where we don't do so well. So while, 80 people on the ground, that's an amazing ground game effort. It's probably one of the better numbers that I've heard in a long time out of the Democrats. But let's bear in mind, they're running uphill the whole way. Even with that kind of ground game, they're still trailing with Hal Parrish. They're still struggling against Nancy Dye. They haven't been able to put Sturtevant away, and they certainly failed against Frank Wagner. So
you're right.
Things are looking good.
You're right. That's like they are running uphill, no doubt. Okay, I've got 1 minute. Very quickly, who's going to win the Super Tuesday presidential primary in Virginia?
Too soon to tell. You can't play that card yet. It could be an alien for all I know. Who cares?
Okay, my prediction, Trump. Let's get to Virginia gubernatorial politics. Obenshain out, Gillespie in, Cuccinelli maybe. I floated Pete Snyder. Who else? Whitman's in, Wagner's in if he wins. Anybody else?
I think if it's Cuccinelli, Gillespie, which is what the smart money's saying right now, that'll be it, and everybody else will be running for second tier. The real story in all of that, though, to be honest with you, John, Mark Obenshain, he did not have to set that down. He did it anyway for the good of the party. He did it anyway because he knew Gillespie was the stronger card. That's leadership. Anybody tells you the Virginia way is dead, point to Mark Obenshain and say it lives. That was an amazing act of character on Mark Obenshain's part. Wow, could not be more impressed.
I got 10 seconds. Can Cuccinelli beat Gillespie in a convention?
Yes.
That's going to be the final word from Shaun Kenney. Thanks, Shaun. We're going to have you back every week between now and then. This is the